Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about Monster and Wilds, and since it has final title update, what to expect in the future. And also, I just haven't been here in a while, so yeah, back to making a video, and let's get into it. So I think it's best I start off from where I last left, and that had to do with Omega coming out. And since then we had AT New Udra, we also had GOG, which is huge for the game, and we had AT Jin Dahad, and now we have AT Arkvel. All have been great compliments to the game, some more than others. I think AT Gen is probably the weakest out of those, but still, overall, good addition to the game regardless, especially for equipment at least. And I mentioned in my last video with Omega at the very beginning that I was right about the player numbers, and basically there was nothing wrong with the game. Like, it had plenty of players in general. Omega brought about 120,000 active players in the middle of the night when he dropped, and same thing with GOG. It was about the same number. Matter of fact, it was like literally just on par. And these are just Steam numbers. This is not including console numbers and whatnot, which are probably larger, maybe even. So who knows? And probably the single biggest change that's come to the game since then has been the performance. And for the first time, you see Monster and Wilds starting to get a more positive review score on Steam, which is great. And the people who could run the game before but just couldn't do it on ultra high settings, even they got a buff from this. Now they're able to do that, and they want to run them on whatever settings they want. They can now, so that's good. Now, there's the minor concern: will the expansion have similar problems? I hope not, mainly because it's been just, almost feels like a dead on arrival thing for Wilds. If that is going to be the case, obviously, I don't think so. I'm hoping that whatever was the problem with the engine, they've kind of figured it out and started padding it out, especially considering that the new Resident Evil game is coming out, Resident Evil Requiem, which, by the way, if you are watching this and you're wanting to check out that game, or you just want to check out the other Resident Evil games, there's currently a sale going on like the entire franchise right now. So go pick up all the games that sound cool to you, and you can probably get all of them for about 120, 140 bucks or less. So yeah, I mean that's like literally every game in the series that is purchasable is right there pretty much. So yeah, go check those out if you're interested. So again, I do hope they've got this stuff under wrap, especially if they're going to continue to use the RE engine in the future to make Monster Hunter games, which I'm not opposed to RE engine. I actually like it. There's a lot of great things about it. Visually speaking, it's one of the best engines on the market. And performance-wise, I would argue it's a better performance than Unreal 5. So that's a huge deal in itself, especially considering it's Capcom's like own in-house engine. So it being able to run well, and the developers being able to understand it and make it perform optimally is just a benefit for every game under Capcom in general. And it also allows them to kind of like network things better. Now, I do think it's kind of funny. I remember seeing a video way back when. What do you want to see for Monster Hunter, like the next game in the series, before we even had the first trailer for Wilds? And I remember having a discussion with a YouTuber about it. And I was saying I think it'd be a really good look for whatever the next Monster Hunter was going to be if it was built in the same engine as Devil May Cry 5, because that game runs pretty well on PS4, right? And it's a few years old, so I figured they worked out the kinks. Apparently not. And so it's just kind of funny. The RE engine is still got some rough corners, I guess. And I did say in an unreleased video, which would have been around the time that New Udra was out, people were still complaining about, oh, it's cool that Omega's in the game and whatnot, but it doesn't help the game be playable. And it was kind of a weird criticism to me, because we already knew for a fact that they had already confirmed that they were going to be working on the performance at the beginning of the year, right? Like after Title Update 4, so after GOG came out, that was basically when all the uh, performance updates were coming out. Which, by the way, like 90% of people say the game runs better now. Which there was before, it was like 70% or something like that. It was like 70 something. So the game run better, and that was still huge then. But run better does not mean runs well, right? Now they just say it actually just runs well, and people who couldn't play the game at all before are actually able to play the game, which is huge. Now I'm gonna briefly go over all the things that I missed. AT New Udra was pretty good, especially if you like using the Bale armor set. It gave you some new pieces to work around with and mix and match with your build. All around, decent fight. At the time, was the most single changed monster out of all the Arch Tempereds, and was my favorite. My current one is Arkvel, which we'll get to that in a second. Of course, we ended up getting GOG in December, which was huge. GOG is a fan favorite. I mean, it's literally just giant gore. Like it's the same skeleton and everything. Got the forearms and whatnot. All around, I actually really like his fight. I like it more than the original, if I'm being honest. I didn't really like it all that much in 4. He's just big. Like that's his whole gimmick. He's just fucking big. And big monsters tend to be rather boring if they don't have either good moves or they don't have like mechanics that are designed to deal with them. So far, the biggest monster's been the franchise that I've actually enjoyed like fighting and hunting has been Call of Taroth and World. So it's really good to see that they took a lot of design cues from that and basically implemented it into GOG's fight. Now, they're obviously not like a one to one, not at all. But they are very comparable in the fact that they're like it's this huge monster and you can't necessarily fight it by normal means. Of course, you can attempt to do that, but there's multi stages, there's gimmicks, and whatever else that you can work with. That was I think Cole really helped with that, and especially making GOG as good as he is. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like farming GOG. It's just how it is. It's the fight. It's not really you're fighting him, more so you're just going through stages of the fight till you can actually kill him. And to be honest, I don't mind that. It changes up the actual gameplay from just, oh, you swing a sword and whatnot. Monster Hunter has long since lost an identity of just like tracking monsters and whatnot. Like that's not really a thing that we do ever. I think just hopping into an arena and just fucking fighting monsters is basically what we're going to be stuck with. So overall, and by the way, I think this is kind of goofy, anyways, because these are the same people who would be complaining about like Laggy having an underwater section, which is like he is the premier like water monster. Like what are we talking about? And so yeah, I think it's funny that there's people like, oh, bro, it sucks fighting Laggy because you have to fight him. You know, you have to do the water section. But it's like that's the whole gimmick. That is his thing, which plays into what we potentially could get in the future. I really hope they expand more on water combat and add more Leviathans. I think this game has the perfect opportunity to do so. It seemed we already have like the water section with Laggy. All you gotta do is improve on it, make movesets for the weapons underwater, and just add maybe like 10 water monsters, right? Like 10 or so, and then maybe add like another like 15 on land or some shit. And there you go. You have one of the greatest expansions in Monster Hunter history. Period. So that's my that's my 2 cents on it. But getting back to the title updates, so we got GOG, of course, and then we got AT Gen. I'm gonna be honest, AT Gen was kind of mid. I didn't fight him all that much. I did the speedrun stuff. I got the pendant, which is cool. But I don't know. He didn't really change all that much for me. I would watch videos of people fight him just to kind of get an idea what they thought of him. And he would do like the supernova constantly, and he never once did his nuke for me. Like every time I fought him, I don't know, he just wasn't doing the nuke. I don't know if I bugged him or something. I fought him probably like 15 or so times, and he just never decided to just nuke. I don't I don't know. It's just how it was, I guess. And now we get into the newest title update, which is title update 5, which brings AT Arkveld. So Arch-Tempered Arkveld is a fucking beast. When he's the single most like changed Arch-Tempered fight in the entire game, I would put him up there with like Nergigante as far as like how much like the Arch-Tempered changes the fight. And Arch-Tempered Nergigante is like a fan favorite, right? Like he's actually a really good fight. So to know that Arkveld is even in the same ballpark is fucking huge. Arkveld's already a fun fight, especially if you like blocking and offsetting. He's just really well built for that. And really, what this fight does is it increases his tempo, which is something he greatly needed. He was just too slow before. Like, it was insanely easy to block and offset literally everything he does. Now with this new tempo, like you basically have to like have like a premonition of what's happening, and you really got to learn his combos. Overall, I don't think he's too difficult, and I'm saying this as a relative. I still think like 9-5, like 8-5, 9-5 Gore is still the hardest fight in the game, and it's like not even fucking close. Sure, I will concede that I think AT Arkveld is heavily like is up there now, but it's not even the same ballpark as fucking like a 9-5 Gore. It's honestly fucking brutal. Like Gore is so fucking overtuned in this game. He does not need to be as strong as he fucking is. And the fact that like pretty much all his breath attacks will like fucking two-shot you, and they're basically a setup for a combo into something else, is ridiculous. You could literally nerf Gore's damage by 50%, and he would still be a fucking menace carding people constantly. And also, as a little bonus, we got a kind of special quest. It is called Proof of a Hero, which basically is all the Arch-Tempered monsters. Well, all but, Jin Dahad, because he couldn't fit in the arena. So, but yeah, it's all of them in the same arena, not at the same time, of course, even though I think that would be funny. It would just straight up be unplayable. I will say, I think as a standalone quest, this is probably the hardest quest in the entire game. Mainly because you're having to deal with every Arch-Tempered, even if not all the Arch-Tempereds are that difficult necessarily. It's you fighting them back to back to back, and also they come in. I don't know if the time is scripted or it's how much damage the other monsters take in, but regardless, another monster will show up and will can do damage to each other, which is a nice benefit, but it has the downside of you could also get caught up while you're trying to deal with the other monster, that the other one just comes in and smacks you in the back of the fucking head and you die. So, is what it is. Now, there's some people saying that, oh, we're not going to get a 5th title update, and I was already saying, yeah, no, that's not true. We're 100% we're going to get a title update. It makes no sense that we get an AT version of every single Apex, but not Arkveld when he's literally the flagship. We potentially could have gotten a 6th title update, if they want to do like an AT Zogia, which could have been cool, but I don't really know how much more you can add to that fight, because it's already pretty over the top as is, right? And I'm going to be honest, I don't think the Arch-Tempered Xeno'jiiva fight was that good, so I don't really know how much you're going to improve on what is already basically just a peak fight anyways. Also, with the recent update, we got the new weapon, that being Shatter Seal, which is the weapon that won the design contest. Of course, it is a greatsword. I talked about this when Omega came out, and how people were upset because, oh, greatsword got Shadowbringer and it's getting Shatter Seal. Like, how is this fair? Honestly, go fuck yourself. It's whatever. It's a fucking game. It's just the criticisms are just so ridiculous. But continuing on with that, I actually don't like Shatter Seal. I could get into that more and like an entire separate video, but to basically like loosely explain my gripes with it, it's a 210 greatsword, which sounds bad on paper, but then it has a unique skill that gives it splash damage. Now, if you're not like heavily like building into the skill on it, you're only going to get maybe about 80 damage out of it. If you really build into it and you make it like actually viable, you can get it up to almost 200 damage every time you get the slams off. So that's cool. But here's the big but. It also comes with another skill, that being maxed out focus. Focus being the most important skill for greatsword. So you gave it 2 skills. One is fucking mandatory, so you don't have to build for it. And so, okay, you know what? Maybe that's making up for like the low damage, right? Okay, I guess that's fair. It has the 210 damage, makes up for it. But the thing is, it already made up for it with the unique skill. But then they were also like, let's give it 3 slot decos, and it's why, just why? Like, are you serious? That is so ridiculous. That is maxed out crit boost and whatever other skill you want, like offensive guard or some shit, right? Why would you ever do that? There makes no sense. And the worst part is, on top of all of that, right? It has infinite white sharpness. And to be fair, it's not actually infinite, but it might as well be. If you actually like lost all that sharpness, and you're playing greatsword, by the way, you ain't playing the weapon right. I don't know what moves you or attacks your like playstyle you have, but you are not playing the weapon right. That or you just like been on one giant expedition for like 10 years, it feels like. And to wrap up my criticisms of it, basically, if you buffed it by like an extra 5 points of raw damage, or even make it like 220, like most greatswords, it would immediately be better than the best like god roll, like God Guardians, which is a fucking problem. But also, it's objectively better than Shadowbringer. Like, just now, here's the thing, right? I say objectively, but it's kind of subjective at the same time. Shadowbringer is heavily carried by the build with Bale, right? That's kind of its gimmick. So when you're using, a 4-piece or at least 2-piece Bale, and you're like running maxed out resentment and all that, Shadowbringer is still in the running for like the best greatsword in the game. But the gap close between those is so close that it might as well you just consider Shatter Seal the best greatsword. Because Shatter Seal is also a raw greatsword, which technically isn't great. You're not getting any bonus elemental for whatever you're fighting, but also it's not bad. For most scenarios with a greatsword, having a random element that the monster's like mildly weak to is like maybe +5 raw and a bonus. So it's not really getting that. So you're not really losing that much for just not having element. But also, it allows you to use convert element and just have a full dragon weapon if you wanted to. Like, no other gimmicks, just straight up just dragon. Like, the fuck? And also, it plays into the fact that because of how malleable that greatsword is, with how many like deco slots it has the free focus, as the unique skill, and all around, you can basically just do whatever you want with it. There's no like hard focusing on a specific build, and that is really the benefit, and that's why I would say it's actually better than Shadowbringer. While I will continue to use Shadowbringer, I think Shadowbringer is the best greatsword in the game. It is actually annoying just how many bonuses that one weapon has. And again, like I said, give it a 5+ raw damage increase, and it's automatically better than like Shadowbringer, and arguably better than the perfectly rolled Gogma Ardian. And this is a great segue into Gogma Ardians. I hate them. I fucking hate them. I didn't like Ardians in general. RNG is fucking bullshit, and even then, it's not actually true RNG because the roles themselves are actually already defined. You already know what's going to come on them. For example, like say you save your game and then you roll an Ardian and you see what's on it. If you were to revert your game save, you're still going to get that same roll.
You can offset it.
The weapon itself is already hard coded what it's going to come with. So there's not actual true RNG behind it, which is whatever. It doesn't really bother me. It's just kind of like, you know, you're not actually arguing RNG. It was RNG the moment you fucking made the weapon. Is basically what it is. You rolling. There's no rolling it. And honestly, that's probably one of the biggest issues I have with the system is you have to go get the parts and then re-roll it every single time. And if you're not getting the parts that you need to make that weapon, then you're stuck with the same issues. And Gogma Ardians are arguably even worse with this because you have to make the weapon. You apply the element. You apply what type of like style you want it. So if you want to be more attack focused, affinity, and so on. And then you got to get the perfect roll on top of all of that. Stat XLs. So basically, it's like level 4 of a stat. So like level 4 attack is just plus 12 raw or some shit, which is insane. You can have up to 2 of the same type, and you can only have 3 in total. So basically, the perfect rolls are 2-3 attacks, 2 attack XL, and like 1 sharpness. That's basically what it's going to be for a greatsword. Now, for other weapons, I don't fucking know. Don't really care. You know, I am the greatsword main. That is the thing I care about. And even then, I never really used Ardian weapons in the first place, so this doesn't really bother me that much. But I do want to briefly talk about this issue that I feel like no one brings up at all. Your favorite YouTuber or streamer who's showing off the perfect builds or whatever, and they have their perfectly rolled Ardians and their perfectly rolled talismans showing what the optimal build looks like and all that shit. Just so we are clear, they are like 95%, like without a doubt, modded that shit. Like that's not real. Like they did not like just randomly get that like through luck. I have more hunts. I have a higher hunter rank. I have more time in the game than they do, and I don't have this shit. So, yeah, that's just retarded. I'm not saying what they're doing is bad. Let me be clear. I don't think modding your equipment is necessarily bad. I do think it gets kind of stupid whenever you're modding something that's like literally just not possible. Like for example, you have like the Gogma Ardian and everything's XL'd, which is like, yeah, no, that's at that point you're just blatantly cheating. Like it's not even possible. And again, I don't actually blame people who do this. It's just I don't want people to like have like this like false sense of like, oh, Santa Claus is real. And I know Santa Claus actually steals his fucking, you know, his presents from like Walmart, and he's a bum that lives under the bridge or some shit. Like I just don't want people to like get through this like disillusion, like, oh, my favorite YouTuber got it, so I could get it. No, just no. When I beat AT Arkfell for the first time, I got my God Roll Talisman. And the thing is, the talisman that I wanted isn't even all that like special. It's just recovery, speed, and focus. Nothing special. There's not like attack or agitator or anything like that. It was just that. Very simple. Nothing special about it really. And I just got it the other day. Out of the like hundreds, potential, maybe even like 1,000 talismans I've gotten so far, that was the first time I got the God roll that I wanted. Now, it's not to say I don't have, like, I have 0 good talismans other than that. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just the fact that that's what I wanted. That was the God roll that I wanted. It's like a 1 in 56,000 chance or whatever to get the perfectly rolled, like, talisman, or whatever the talisman you want. And when you understand those odds, RNG pisses off people. Speaking of RNG, I remember when Laggy first came out, and people were saying, like, the game was healing because Laggy and Steve, their drop rates were, like, heavily increased. So, for example, to get, like, their gems or their rarest drop was, like, a 2%, which I hate, by the way. That is so fucking stupid. Like, why is it so fucking, like, ridiculously hard to get? It's, like, 2% on a drop and, like, a 3% on a carve. And they're like, oh, we'll incentivize you to fight the harder versions because, like, the tempered have better drop rates. And it's like, yeah, that sounds cool, but I'm not fighting tempered monsters for monster materials. I am fighting them for talismans and Ardian parts. That's it. That's what it should be for. So why the fuck are you going to fuck over people who want to get their armor or weapons? It makes no sense. I never liked that, and the people who said that it was actually really good the game did that, I never understood that shit. And it's got me like a fucking death spiral, because ever since they added Transcending, which is something I forgot to mention, is basically you could transcend your armor, which increases its defense for most. But for the like lesser armors, the ones that you get earlier, like so for example, I take Dashaguma, right? Dashaguma has pretty good skills, like the set bonus, if you're like a great sword player or, you know, lance or something like that, has some pretty decent skill set bonus on it, gives you like plus 25 to 50 raw when you get like a guard clash or an offset. huge. Honestly, really useful. But you would never use those pieces because the skills on them are ass and the decoration slots on them are even worse. So transcending those pieces, like those like lower rarities, increases the amount of decoration slots they can hold, which is huge. It's actually something I've been wanting for a very long time. I can kind of loosely get into how I feel about armor spheres here, but I'll hold that off for a second. But getting back to what I was saying about drop rates and transcending, I've been trying to transcend my Bale armor for the longest time. I have 3 pieces out of the 5. In the last 15 hunts I have had on Omega, I have not gotten a single Omega nodule, which is his rarest drop. It is a 2% reward and a 3% carve, and this is while I'm using vouchers. This is while I'm using the Azuz meal for the extra carves, and I'm still not gotten it. 15 hunts, and I've not gotten the fucking, like, the one thing that I need to send the armor. It's fucking ridiculous. I have like 500 fucking screws and springs. So, yeah, I don't like the fucking drop rates being this fucking low. It's so fucking annoying. Honestly, in Monster Hunter, when it comes to carving, the lowest drop rate possible should be like a 5%. At most. And that comes from like a fucking reward. And like whatever that, like, that lowest drop is, like, maybe shoots up to like a fucking like 7 to 10% on a carve. Or hell, you could even give them as a bonus if you break every part on the monster that's breakable. And I'll take this time to briefly talk about my opinion on armor spheres and how much I hate them. So, Mr. MH, aka Michael, has talked about this. Shout out to him. Cool dude, honestly. I've not liked these things, like, in a long time. Like, World really made me hate these things, and Rise didn't help. And Wilds, I think it's probably the least useful item here. I don't have armor sphere problems, mainly because I've never had them in this game. But I don't like them in general. I don't like them conceptually. There's just so many things about them that I just think are either wasted potential or that you could replace with literally anything else instead of bloating the game with another resource. Now, Mr. MH, aka Michael, made a video talking about this and like the redundancy of armor spheres, and I completely agree. We have some maybe different opinions, but I really liked how Frontier like handled armor increases. So you didn't have armor spheres in Frontier. Now, I'll be clear, I didn't play Frontier. I just know of this because, you know, video essays and whatnot. But you have no armor spheres in that game. How you increase your armor's like defense values was through monster parts, thus rewarding you to continue to fight the same monster and truly like learn and master that fight. You want to wear that armor, you want to like max it out, you want to get all the best parts for it, or you want to get your defense as high as and go, then you're gonna keep farming it. Now, I do think there should be like not necessarily a cap, but the requirements for upgrading it shouldn't be necessarily too high. But it's kind of exponential. It just increases and increases in how much parts and the type of parts you need each time. So like actually crafting the armor is actually relatively cheap overall. But if you want to max out the armor and all the pieces on it, yeah, you fighting that motherfucker like 50 times. Okay, like you're gonna be there for a while. I think that's completely reasonable, especially if you're mixing and matching parts. It gets you to actually like fully 100% in-depth understand those monsters in and out, all the mechanics, how to fight them like efficiently. Maybe even gets you a little bit into speedrunning because obviously at a certain point you're just going to try and optimize your time. There are so many benefits from doing it that way. And I also want to take this time to say an addition you could do with a system like this is when you first craft your armor, make it so it's not about the defense necessarily. Matter of fact, you could just have the defense like maxed out when you craft it. I don't really care. Instead, upgrading the armor should be based on like decoration slots. So potentially every single like armor could give you like, you know, say like three like deco slots potentially, something like that, right? Something absurd. Now that sounds like, oh well, that's like, well, that sounds broken, right? And actually, I don't think it is, as a lot of times you're already like optimizing for like the best, you know, skills you want. I mean, like, how much are you actually going to take advantage of certain skills? Like, why would you need like weakness exploit whenever you already have like maxed out agitator and latent power and all the other shit, right? Like, so there's just certain skills that would kind of get like fucked over by this, to be fair. But also, you don't have to build around those. Matter of fact, you can make the argument that the armor you're wearing already has certain those skills like kind of built into them. So you build for those skills to optimize those, right? Stuff like that just makes way more sense to me to do it this way. Obviously, you can disagree. I'm not going to argue otherwise. But I think increasing the amount of decoration slots, and so it's not until like you get like maxed out, you're getting all like the massive deco slots. So just as a hypothetical here, the way you upgrade it would be, you upgrade your armor once, you get a level 1 slot deco. You upgrade it to the second tier, you get now that level 1 slot turns into a level 2, and then so on. So once you're under your 4th upgrade, then you get a new level 1 slot, and then so on, and then we repeat. So by the time you get to like level 9, which I guess you maybe make the argument that the armor starts at like level 1, so technically like level 10 or some shit like that. I'm just spitballing. Basically, by the time you reach level 10 on the armor, you have 3 3-slot decos on each of your armor pieces. Fucking huge. Bunch of build variety, build potential, and it allows you to heavily invest in whatever the set bonuses for the armor are. And I think this is actually the biggest draw to this. You can just giga buff the set bonuses and make that what you're actually building around, not necessarily the decos. And I think this is all around. I think this just has more replayability as far as like hunting goes, and also just more direct power increases as far as not just increasing your defense. Because for most people, right, and this is going to be might piss people off when I say this, but your increase from like
Unluckily for him,
low rank to high rank to master rank, it is pretty much entirely a defense check. There's not really much that changes between these ranks as far as other than how much damage you deal and how much damage you receive. So having master rank armor is kind of necessary in master rank hunts, right? Obviously, there's going to be some exceptions. You're going to see some video on the internet flying around of a guy, fighting, some in-game master rank monster in like high rank armor. Yeah, sure, that does happen, but that's more to like so prove a point. You don't actually do that just because like you feel like it. Like no sane person's doing that, right? But the point is, you're basically just adding more defense so that way you can take more damage and whatever. So that's all armor really is. It basically serves no other purpose other than just protecting you from just getting fucking obliterated. That and the decoration slots, which is the thing that most people use it for. And we know this to be true because anytime new armor drops, it's always what has the best decoration slots, what has the most optimal skill. Like, that's what people care about. They don't actually care about the fucking defense. That's something you never take into consideration, the defense. So yeah, that's basically what I would like to do with armor. Not that I expect this to ever happen. I would like it to happen, especially if the devs decide to double down on actually making stuff like earplugs, trimmers, and wind resistant stuff like that actually more viable. And finally, I kind of want to just leave this out there for all those people who say Monster and Wilds is a baby game. It's so easy, it's made for babies. I really wish that you have to do every single title update intro quest. So for every monster they've added, so like Mizu, Laggy, so on, you have to do all those quests. Then you have to do the Arch Temper quest, and you have to do Omega, you have to do Gog, and you have to do Proof of a Hero, and you need to do Nadia's like 9-5 Gore quest. You need to do all those before you can go into the expansion. Because, for one, I think that's just a giant fuck you to all those people who said the game was made for babies. So yeah, you can go fuck yourself, right? But also, I just find it amusing, because I really don't think if you can get past those, you're probably not going to make it through the expansion anyways. I actually don't know what the fuck's going to be in the expansion, because if AT Arkveld and 9-5 Gore are anything to go off of, the expansion is just going to be fucking hell. Like, now, I remember having this conversation with Meatman about, like, difficulty and pentacles and whatnot. And so, his argument was like, okay, well, the expansion, for example, we'll take Iceborne, saying stuff like, okay, Coral Pookie Pookie is nowhere near as hard as, say, like, Behemoth. And I would agree. Obviously, it'd be fucking retarded not to agree. But also, like, that's not the same tier of monster. Like, it doesn't matter how much fucking damage you give to, like, Quimatrice, unless it's like a straight up fucking one-shot or two-shot. You just can't make that fight threatening. The moveset itself isn't capable of doing that. But you give it to fucking Gore, Gore suddenly able to one-shot you, and he has, like 100,000 health solo. Yeah, that's literally just fucking, like, not fair. So, if that's what, like, the expansion is going to be, if that's what endgame's going to be like, I don't know how people are going to fucking play it. I actually don't. And, that's kind of my concern. Obviously, I'm not, like, trying to throw Me-Man on the bus, just in case there's someone out here saying, like, I hate Me-Man. I don't. Me and him are pretty chill. So, yeah. But that's just a theory. A game theory. Alright, we'll cut the shit. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there something you think that has come out since the last time I made a video that is very important to talk about, or you think is exceptional or whatever? Tell me. And yeah, without further ado, goodbye.
Get in that goddamn cage. Stay there.
I think the support hunters, like, they add so much more extra health, and that's why it's taking fucking longer.
Jesus Christ, man. We might need to take them motherfuckers off.